Almost every dynamic web application handles parameters. Parameters, of course, are passed between the web browser and the web server and handle things like state or data or objects. But what would happen if we start playing with those parameter values? Does the application break? Does it break gracefully, like with a nice error message, or does it show a stack trace? Will it show us something that we shouldn't be authorized to see at all? Will any such attacks lead to data leakage of some kind? These types of questions can be answered by using the technique of parameter tampering. Now, there are numerous attack vectors in this particular technique, but some of the ones that we'll be looking at include URL tampering, hidden form field tampering, JavaScript validation bypass, and server-side JSON exploit or JSON injection. Let's go ahead and perform some parameter tampering against the Jews shop to determine if there are any data leakage vulnerabilities. Let's see if we can bypass some JavaScript validation by tampering with some parameters. If we go back to that feedback form, the Contact Us form, and we're logged in as Bob, one of the things you may have noticed is that you always have to provide some kind of rating for your comment before you can submit. What if we could get around that? So let's go ahead and try it. We'll put a comment in here. We'll go ahead and try one rating, turn on our proxy, submit the form, and you can see in the JSON structure that we have a parameter for rating. It's currently set to 1. What would happen if we set that to 0? Go ahead and forward the request, turn off intercept, and you can see that we were successful in sending that over. So there's a few problems with this. First of all, the validation is done completely on the client side. You don't have any validation of that rating being done on the server side in order to reject that feedback before it's written to the database. Go ahead and look at the other forms in the Juice shop and see if you can manipulate any other parameters. Remember that in Burp, under the proxy options, always unhide hidden form fields so that you can try to manipulate the values in there to see if you can find some sort of vulnerability. Now the next parameter tampering example that we'll look at is with JSON injection. Now this one is a little bit trickier to do. First, make sure that Burp is capturing all your traffic. Go to the main page of the OWASP Juice shop and go ahead and look at, let's say, apple juice. Now go over to Burp, go to the proxy, HTTP history, scroll down to the very bottom. What you'll notice is that this is a GET. So what I want you to do is send that to the repeater. Go ahead and send it again. And I would like for you to note the JSON that is returned. Now what we can do is we could manipulate this verb. Instead of being a get, we could make it a put to try to put something inside of the database. Now what would we like to put? Well, obviously, just as we did before, we'd like to have a permanent cross-site scripting vulnerability placed in our database. So how exactly we can do that is, first, we're going to change this verb to a put. We're going to get rid of this additional parameter at the end, which is just a date. We don't need that. Now we do need to copy the content type because we want to send JSON over. So copy that and place it anywhere on this side. Now for the body, we want to change, let's say, the description. We actually want to place a cross-site scripting vulnerability in there. Now what I would do is I would copy this, paste it over here, and get rid of all of the other variables that I'm not interested in. Now what I want to do is I want to replace this string with my payload. Now if we go back to the Juice shop, we go to the scoreboard, we can see that there's a challenge for this. It's a cross-site scripting tier 3. Perform a persisted cross-site scripting attack with this payload without using the front-end application at all. In this case, we are not using the front-end application at all. We're using a REST call. So let's go ahead and copy this payload. Return to Burp and paste it in there. Don't forget to escape the payload. And then go ahead and click Go. Now you will know that this is successful because you'll see that the database entry itself has been modified. If we go back to the GUI, we can see that we got a banner showing that we did solve for that puzzle.